Yo, people, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to KGX to the ZTV. I know it's been a minute. I apologize. Life was life, and you know how that is. But we're back with another video. Normally, this channel is usually reserved for Chelsea talk. And despite us winning the Club World Cup, and a lot to be happy about and excited about moving forward, it was a big day yesterday in the sport of boxing. A lot of good fights. A lot of good matchups, pretty much throughout the day, right? Good thing about being over here in the States is with anytime they fight in Saudi Arabia, anytime they fight in London, it's a little bit early for us. So old guys like myself who sometimes don't like staying awake too late to watch these fights, get a chance to kind of see it, kind of break it down with less tired eyes and things like that. So let's get into it, man. We're going to talk about 3 fights today. We'll talk about Usyk Dubois 2. We'll talk about Bam Rodriguez and Cafu. And then we'll talk about Pacman and Barrios, which was the nightcap. Usyk Dubois, DAZN. Pacman and Barrios, also DAZN. But then, Pacman was Prime. And then Bam and Cafu was also on DAZN. So full slate. Summer's been pretty good when it comes to the boxing matchups. I know last week, we had the Berlanga fight, good fight in terms of excitement. Happy to see Berlanga, who's a notorious shit talker. Happy to see him get humbled. But nonetheless, let's get right into it. And Usyk Dubois 2, which was the appetizer for yesterday's fight cards, but for me was the main course. So I really wanted to see what the second fight would look like, see if Dubois' game plan would be a little bit different. With Usyk, you know what you're going to get with him. You're going to get incredible ringsmanship. You're going to get incredible footwork, solid fundamentals, good high guard. He's a left-handed fighter, unorthodox, so he's going to get in there. He's going to create those angles. He's going to really try to outbox heavyweights and sort of wear them down. He's not the biggest power puncher, although, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in this video, but not the biggest power puncher when it comes to one-shot power and being able to knock you down and things like that. But he's shown it throughout the course of his career that he does have he does have power. He can shock some folks. Dubois is not a huge heavyweight, definitely not the sizes of Big Bang Zhang and Tyson Fury and those guys, but he's a very strong. He's got a very good base, Dubois. Good stance, good balance, which he can help generate a lot of his power from. And he's strong. He's a strong fighter. I thought he was a little bit hard done by, like a lot of folks did in that first fight. I thought that shot was a legal shot. I thought it hit him right on the belt line. But the referee didn't see it that way. Fair play to the referee. When you're in the ring, split decision or split seconds, you've got to make those kind of judgment calls, and it's difficult. I know we all at home, we like to get on referees regardless of the sport, but sometimes when you're in there, you're caught up in the emotion, you're caught up in the hype, depending on the angle that he might have and things like that, you might be a little bit harder. And like I said, he saw it a different way. I personally saw it as a legal shot. It definitely hurt Usyk. He was down on the ground. Don't think he would have beat the count, but the referee did see that it was a low blow, or did rule it a low blow, allowed Usyk the time to recover, and then Usyk gets up, he gets back into the fight, and then ultimately gets the win, knocks out Dubois. So what was the second one going to look like? Like I said, you know what Usyk's game plan was going to come into it. It's going to be pretty much consistent throughout all of his fights, with obviously tweaks here and there depending on the fighter that he's fighting and things like that. Like all good camps and like all good corners will do, they'll make subtle adjustments, right? When you're a boxer of that kind of caliber, and Usyk is at the highest echelon when it comes to boxing, and specifically heavyweights, in terms of his movement, his head movement, his combinations, the way he can get angles like a lot of left-handed fighters do, especially left-handed European or Eastern European fighters, think Lomachenko and things like that. Very good with his feet. Very good in getting in, getting out, gauging the distance, not standing directly in front of fighters, but just, Usyk's just a incredibly sound fighter. So you know what his game plan was going to come in. Dubois, what I thought his game plan was going to come in, I thought he was going to work behind the jab and try to set up that straight right, which was very, very one of his better punches, and very, I won't say dominant in the first fight, but it was something that I thought Usyk had to look out for. But then I also thought you got him into trouble. You got Usyk into trouble with a body shot in the first one. You know that fighters who use their feet a lot are, one of the ways to slow them down is to go to the body and things like that. So, in my mind, work the jab, work the body, steal some rounds here and there. I never really thought that Dubois would stand a chance on the cards if he went the distance. I thought he would have to get a stoppage, TKO, something like that. Maybe, clash of heads, left-handed fighter versus an orthodox fighter. You go to the cards and things like that. Not that fighters would ever look for that, but those are some of the things and some of the scenarios that happen sometimes when you get fighters with different stances getting in there with each other and stepping on the feet, leaning in, things like that. But to my, I won't say to my shock or my surprise, but Usyk did what he had to do. He gauged the distance really well. He worked off his jab, which Dubois didn't work off his jab at all, and just did a really, really good job of just keeping Dubois off balance, keeping him off his game. Didn't really get into situations where he would have to mix it up and he would have to get in there and bang and things like that. He'd get his punches off. He'd get some combinations off. He'd get out. He'd come back in. He'd circle. Didn't make sure that he didn't get caught on the ropes and things like that. Just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant game plan by Usyk. Both in terms of the inception of that game plan, so all the work that him and his corner did, and I watched a lot of the pre-match, or I'll say pre-fight, lead up to it, a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. They don't show you too much when it comes to the tactics and things like that when it comes to it, and what kind of weaknesses they're looking to exploit, but definitely you could tell that Usyk was well-drilled in the game plan and the approach to this fight, and he carried it out to a T, getting the knockout in spectacular fashion. Little bit of a I won't say a pot shot, but he got in there with that right hook and then followed up with a left hook that the moment Dubois went down the first time, you could tell that he was going to be in trouble. And this is no disrespect to Dubois. I like Dubois. Came out to Dennis Brown, so all my yardies will always, we got to big him up. But he just really cemented himself at the top of the heavyweight throne. And at 38 years old, I don't think there's anything left for Usyk to prove in this sport, in this game. So it would not make me so super upset if he were to go out there and try to get one last big payday, whether that be Anthony Joshua, whether that be another go at Usyk, whether that be Jake Paul. But 38 years old, he looks strong, but as we know with boxers, there's no one that can defeat Father Time, and we'll talk about that a little bit later when it comes to Pacman making his return to the ring. But there's some options out there for him. But like Usyk said in his post-match, in his post-ring interview, he's going to go ahead and just take his time, make the right decision. He looks like a fighter that always sort of keeps himself in pretty decent shape, which a lot of heavyweights don't when it comes to when they're not in a camp or they're not actively gearing up or in talks so that they have to kind of get their bodies right and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next with Usyk. He's a fighter that, like I said, moved up in the ranks from cruiserweight, so you can kind of see some of that conditioning. You can kind of see some of that more of a boxing approach to his game and to his style. So, big up Usyk. Dubois, I'm not sure where he goes from here. There's no shame in his game in losing to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world in Usyk. And because of the nature and the style that Dubois brings, I don't think there will be a shortage of good suitors when it comes to lining up to fight him. I think he's a fighter that's marketable. Maybe not so much in terms of personality, but in terms of his fight outcomes and his fight styles and things like that. So big up both of them. Really enjoyed the fight. Some good fights on the undercard as well and things like that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Usyk next. Next fight was, we're just going in chronological order, was Bam Rodriguez. So obviously Bam, a fighter that I think was 21-0, 14 KOs coming into it, versus Cafu, who's a fighter that I didn't know too much about going into it. I'd seen a few of his fights and leading up to it just to kind of research myself to see what Bam was sort of stepping into the ring to. And to be honest with you, I liked a lot of what I saw in Cafu, both in the fights leading up to this and in the fight versus Bam. I thought it was one of those fights where obviously Bam he gets the win, he gets the Cafu corner, throws in the towel, and good job by them. By the way, they looked like they saw their fighter in danger, and in terms of not only being stunned, but no real way for Cafu to get back into that fight without seriously putting him at risk. So that they did a really good job of stopping it. Ref did a good job as well as of seeing it and getting in there and making sure that Bam didn't inflict any more damage on him. But it was a good fight. I thought Bam showed a lot of patience in it. I thought he showed some decent respect to Cafu, who I thought was a pretty solid overall fighter. I don't think Cafu was one of those guys that has a super standout trait like power, footwork, head movement, and things like that. I don't think Cafu is great at any particular facet of the sport, but I thought he's good at a lot of things. Right, he had pretty good footwork, pretty good head movement, decent puncher, pretty active through combinations, get behind the jab and things like that. Good. I like his stance. Very good balance. I'm a huge fan of those fighters that are very, very solid in their foundation and their base, because I just think through my own personal experience boxing, your stance and just when you're down there in that sort of that crunched or crouched position where you just have so much potential energy that you can just fire off and you can get behind your punches, you can evade, you can use your footwork to get in, get out, you can duck, cover, all those things that really, really good fighters do, that are a little bit on the younger side before they start getting a little bit more vertical, a little bit standing up more, and especially as you get down into the later rounds when your energy gets depleted and you start mixing bad habits. There's a lot of like I said, a lot of traits for him to really be proud of and things like that. But credit to Bam. I mean, Bam really, really showed that he was a very, very elite and top fighter, and one that the sky is just super bright for him. Right? We know the knockout power that he has. We know the on the front foot aggressive style that he has. But like I said, what we saw today was a little bit more patience, a little bit more testament to him and his ability to hone his fundamentals. And as you move up in the stature of the fighters that you're facing, especially those that are more complete fighters, or those fighters that kind of carry a dominant trait, whether that be punching power, whether that be output and things like that. I thought Bam did a very, very good job. So credit to Bam, credits to his camp. Super excited to see what fight he looks at next and where he sort of goes from here. Last but not least, Pacman making his return to the ring. 46 years young. Like I said, shout out to all the old guys that are still out there putting in the work. But yeah, Pacman, majority draw. I think two cards had it 114, and then one had it 115, 113 to Barrios. I'll be honest with you, I was a little surprised that he not surprised that he got a fight with Barrios, because Pacman's name is going to bring money. So Barrios, I mean, he's not going to turn down those kind of paydays, right? But yeah, I mean, Barrios, 2 losses, 3 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws in his last 7. The 2 losses were to Tank and to Keith Thurman, so no harm, it's nothing against Barrios. Those are 2 excellent fighters. Tank speaks for himself, and Keith Thurman, Keith Thurman's still a quality fighter with a lot of quality characteristics. But Pacman was, I mean, I guess you could say he was better than some had expected. Especially myself, what I was worried about with Pacman, and you don't like to see fighters get old. Like, that's one of the scariest things is when you see fighters, and it happens in boxing more so than almost any other sport, where you get in there once, there's one fight that could change your life, that could change your career, and Father Time catches up to all of them, and you just look every bit of your age, right? And I thought at times Pacquiao showed some of his trademark characteristic, getting in, getting out, punching from angles, unorthodox style, where he hits you with a jab cross, jab to come in, all while he's on the front foot, getting inside, getting in close, making it awkward for it. But he never looked like he was going to hurt Barrios. And even post fight, I saw some clips from Barrios where he said he still hits hard for a 46-year-old. Which, I mean, he definitely hit Barrios with some shots, but it looked like Barrios did a good job of absorbing those shots. And you could see after the fight, Pacquiao's face looked like it had absorbed much more damage than Barrios. And I thought Barrios landed the harder shots. I thought he pushed back a lot of Pacquiao's advances, and he was going to always sit on the counter. You could kind of see that that his game plan and his strategy was counterpunch, wait for Pacquiao to come in. Hopefully that Pacquiao didn't have the legs, didn't have the stamina anymore. And I mean, the Pacquiao's defense, coming off a 4-year layoff to go the distance, didn't get dropped, didn't get put in too much danger. But you could definitely see the difference in age, the difference in strength, the difference in the power shots and things like that. And Pacquiao was never, even at his height, even with the allegations surrounding steroid use, moving up weight classes, and not losing his punching power, he was never really a one-shot, put you kind of down fighter. More so of a, I always like to call him like the Sugar Ray Leonard type of fighters, where they wear you down with a lot of flurries, with a lot of combinations, and then they just physically, after a while, just wear down on you, and then that's how they get the stoppage. And it's usually either a stoppage, corner throws the towel in, something along those lines. But yeah, I mean, I rewatched it again this morning, and I thought, because it came on pretty late last night, and I always like to watch it again with a clear mind and being fully alert. I thought 115, 113 was about right. 114, 114 a draw. It's not the worst decision. Pacquiao is going to carry a lot of favor in the cards just because the nature of boxing, the nature of who can sell fights and things like that. But I did think that Barrios more than so deserved the decision, but I'm not truly upset by it. Where Pacquiao goes from here, where Barrios goes, still I don't think it put Barrios back into the discussion to fight some of the best in and around what they fought at for this one. Pacman, I don't know, he's always going to have suitors that line up to fight him because he's Pacquiao. Folks are going to want to have a fight with Pacquiao on their resume. They're going to want to have a fight with Pacquiao reflected in their bank accounts. Look, no shame in my game when it comes to that. Get paid, get your money. Boxing is a extremely limited sport when it comes to the window of opportunity that you have to maximize your financial gains and things like that. So all in all, not a terrible showing for Pacman. Like I said, we saw some of his characteristic trademarks and some of his techniques, different angles, different punching styles, punches coming at you from unorthodox situations and things like that. So we saw a little bit of that, but you didn't see the bouncing, the 1-2s, popping in, pop out, 1-2-3s, things like that. And like I said, it's to be expected for a guy who's 46 years old and is coming off of a four-year layoff. So shout out to Pacman. Shout out to Barrios. It wasn't a terrible fight for the neutral, for the spectators and things like that. I wouldn't want to see it particularly again. But anytime you get an all-time great, and Pacquiao is definitely one of the all-time greats, and they get into the ring, you're always going to draw the attention. You're always going to get eyes on you. So big up Pacman. I hope he. To be honest with you, I hope he kind of just walks off and just calls it quits. But it looks like he's got some more fight left in his heart. Whether or not he has that in his body is TBD. But all in all, very good day for boxing. Very good day for the boxing fans, whether it be casual fans, you get to see the knockout with Usyk and Dubois, and then whether that's more diehard fans, those that like the sweet science, who could see the elegance and the technical brilliance of Bam Bam, and then a little bit of a throwback to some of the fans that grew up at the height of that Pacquiao Mayweather type of era. So all in all, like I said, great weekend for boxing fans. We're going to try to get as much coverage on here as we can on this channel. Not only Chelsea stuff, not only English Premier League stuff, Champions League stuff, transfer window stuff, but also the sweet science, maybe some American football during the course of the season and things like that. So we'll get it a little bit more consistent this year. I know I said that before, but that is the goal. That is the game, to try to grow the channel. So again, I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Let me know what you think about your thoughts in the video. Put them down in the comments, and we will see you at the next one. Peace.